Hello, hello. It's Alicia Connor, registered dietitian and chef here at Quick and Delish. I wanted to share a really cool idea for salad dressings in general, or elevate your food sauces. So, a salad dressing could be like oil and vinegar, right? Or you could make something that a lot of people buy in the bottle, like ranch dressing, or you can get Green Goddess. There's lots of different types of dressings you can get to add to your salads, or you could use these to elevate any of your meals. Just to take your dish, whatever it is, egg frittata or some kind of chili or whatever the dish is, it doesn't matter, a poke bowl, elevate it a little bit with some kind of flavor booster, like a sauce or a dressing. So the idea is use an herb. So a fresh herb, you can use the dried herb as well. So this is fresh dill, and I've been keeping this in the refrigerator for about 10 days now, and it's still I changed the water twice, and it's still very fresh. And there's twice as much dill. So I think I use it for 3 different dishes. So what I would do is I would just put half or all of this dill in a blender with some vinegar. So you could use sherry vinegar, balsamic vinegar. Muscatel is one of my favorites, made out of muscatel grapes. Red wine vinegar, and then some extra virgin olive oil, right? To bring it all together. If you wanted to, instead of olive oil, you can use a whole avocado or half of an avocado to make the dressing, and then just use some vinegar for the acid, or lemon juice or lime juice for the acid. Or you can use any citrus. You can make an orange dill dressing with avocado, salt, pepper, and maybe like a vinegar like muscatel or apple cider vinegar. So something like not like something clean and light. Um, that's why I chose those vinegars. So balsamic is like sweet. It's a sweet vinegar, and it comes with a very specific flavor, and it can match well with most foods. But it's good to experiment with different types of vinegars and using your citruses. You know, lemon, lime, grapefruit, and oranges or tangerines, right? There's so many different varieties of grapefruit, oranges, tangerines, or mandarins. Sky's the limit with citrus. There's also kumquats too, and there are quats. Um, okay, so then if you run with this idea, you could do a combination of dill, not Bill, Bill's not invited, dill and basil, or mint and basil, or parsley and mint, and make a dressing. Also, chives are great in a dressing as well to add that oniony, fresh oniony flavor. And you could also make like a fresh ranch dip or dressing with either sour cream, yogurt, or a combination. Maybe some buttermilk if you wanted. Sometimes the yogurt could add enough tanginess, and then add fresh parsley, fresh chives, and then either some powdered onion powder. Just repeated that, and garlic. And then you have ranch dressing, salt, pepper, and some kind of lemon juice. So that's super easy to make at home with less of those fillers that come in the bottle. Just, sometimes it's nice to make something fresh. So cool. I hope this was an interesting idea for our dressing. I just think sometimes I make pesto, like different types of pestos. Recently, I made if you watched the video, I made a cilantro pesto, and then a one with ginger and garlic, and then one just with garlic and some hemp seeds, just like a regular pesto with cilantro. And then I made a basil one. Sometimes I do basil kale, so that the kale it's just contributing more green volume so that you could get more pesto. I don't necessarily think adding kale to a pesto makes it super kaley, just makes it so you have more volume. You also want to make sure you have the ratio of basil to kale. So there's like enough basil to make the pesto still taste very basil-y. I like to make up words like basil or dilly. But it's so awesome to have fresh herbs around, and the hardest part, you guys know this already, but the hardest part about having fresh herbs around is having a plan for them so that they don't get wasted. So if I didn't have a plan for this, I could just chop this up and then put it in little Ziploc bags and then freeze it. And then next time I make like a potato whatever soup or frittata, then I would add the fresh dill from my freezer to that um, whatever the dish is to elevate the dish with some fresh herbs from my freezer. So I think that's really cool. So sometimes, so we have the best intentions as humans. Always. You have like a great thought and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. It's going to be awesome. Or maybe even you don't go that far, but you want to do this thing. But having the follow through plan for making it happen, because on the weekend you might be like, yeah, or during the weekend you're like, yeah, I'm going to make that thing, whatever that recipe is or meal, right? And then you get the ingredients, and then you lose steam, and then something else pops up, and then you don't make it, and then maybe the food goes bad. So one of my clients just told me last week, every time I go grocery shopping, I waste food. And my response was, it's not the act of grocery shopping that wastes food. It's the lack of having a plan to make the grocery shopping turn into food and then reducing the risk of wasting food. Because it's super sad when you purchase, you use your hard-earned money to buy something, you have the best intentions, and then you don't use it. We do this kind of a lot as humans. But in order to utilize the things that we actually spend our money on, having a plan would make it doable, achievable, and like actionable. So join me. This is the end of August or the beginning of September. We're right here. Let's be more intentional with our plans for eating healthy, meaning we follow through with what we want to do in a baby steps approach. Adding flavor to your foods could be an easy way to elevate some of the foods that you eat more regularly. Like, if you've been having the same foods for a while, you might want to just add different types of flavors to those dishes and then they turn into something totally new, newish. We need to add new variety to our diet, whether or not it's adding the, 3 different colors of vegetables to your meals, like 2 times a day, or just switching up our recipes. Because if we get too stuck in having the same old, then we're gonna do something weird and start eating out more often, or something weird's gonna happen. And then we might get bummed out. So join me in being a little bit more intentional with the notion of meal planning and eating healthy for the month of September. We can finish off this year on a high note, 2021 on a high note. Okay, feel free to send me a comment in the comments box that you're in to be a little bit more intentional with your meal planning. Look forward to seeing you next time. And if you like this video or any other videos, please subscribe and share. Until next time, please do put on your calendar. My next meal planning session is September 17th or 18th, 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's awesome. People ask questions and they're super jazzed about thinking about like little things like how it's super important to label the foods that you freeze, because when you look at the freezer and you're like, oh, what's that? All of our foods in the freezer really don't look very good because they're frozen, and then we forgot what we made, and then you're like, oh, it's probably bad. We make assumptions about the food that we made in the past. I've done this before. I know what it's like. So I'm speaking from our past selves. So setting ourselves up for success includes labeling our food in the freezer. It's not a big deal. It's just making it so that you have some masking tape and a Sharpie in the kitchen so that you actually eat the food that you make, because your future self will love you that much more. Okay, cool. Cheers to you until next time. This is Alicia from Quick and Delish to Delish.